Right. Well, here we go. Just make sure everything's plugged in and everything's working because this has been a very, very busy day. For some time, I've believed that Ben Habib was going to launch a new party. By the way, guys, let me know that you can hear this because I've had a couple of problems with sound. So just if anyone's on, just let me know you can actually hear this. And again, um, if you're not on or if you're watching, please share this because this little video is not the main event. 7 o'clock tonight on Counter Media. So go across the if you're watching this on Twitter or on the Richard Inman channel, dive across to Counter Media, subscribe to Counter Media. The link should be in the description, I hope. And we're going to go live at 7 o'clock tonight with Ben Habib. And I want to get your thoughts here, guys. And if you've got any questions, stick some questions in the comments, because what I want to do, I want to have a really honest discussion with Ben Habib. I have stacks of time for Ben Habib. I've got to know him over the past 18 months or so, and he is a man of high integrity, very, very humble, very intelligent, very, very good businessman. He has been a successful politician. He stood for the Brexit Party. He's a Brexit Party MEP, so he's won elections before, and he's a straight shooter, and he believes everything that we believe. And I guess from my point of view, I'm looking at this and going, well, we've really got a Rolls-Royce operator in Ben. He is intelligent. He's articulate. He can talk to people at all levels. So he can mix it with the elite in White's Gentlemen's Club or wherever they go, and he can also talk to us or talk to me at my level, which is going down some pegs from there for sure. So I think what's happened to me is very exciting, very interesting. But then again, we've got the other thing that's happened as well, and I want to talk about that. So I'm going to read now from Rupert Lowe's statement, because Rupert has decided to launch his project today. I'm going to talk about the difference between the two, okay, and why there shouldn't be a conflict. If this is managed right, this could work really well, and how all the other parties, I believe, can feed into this. So let's have a look what Rupert said. So I'll just read this, okay? Today we're launching Restore Britain, a movement for those who believe that we need to fundamentally change the way Britain is governed. We will build a policy platform together. A movement will be created together. A path will be forged together. A lot of togetherness there. This is not a political party, but a fundamentally different way of doing things. Members from political parties are very welcome to join us on this journey. Now, that sounds very much like what we did with the pledge. To be brutally honest with you, that's another story. If they share our values and want to be part of a bottom-up movement that has the potential to transform Britain. Now, I'm not going to criticize what Rupert's doing here, because I think when I was thinking about this, I'd heard that Rupert was going to launch a movement, obviously as Ben launched the party, and I thought, well, is there room for another movement? We've got Tommy and everybody around Tommy, all of us doing the Unite the Kingdom thing. We've been doing that for 18 months or so, right? We've got the pledge, which is really an ideology. It's an ideological base. Once the pledge is done, it doesn't. This great thing about the pledge, doesn't really need much done to it, because it's the ideology of how we actually win the country back. But what it seems like Rupert is doing is becoming like a very, very powerful lobbying group. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as it's not competing with the other parties. Okay, so let's have a look at what you say. I do not have all the answers. I'm not a politician. I find myself in Parliament. Obviously, he stood for election. That's how he finds himself in Parliament. I find myself in Parliament, independent and isolated without a party. And that is squarely at the feet of Nigel Farage and Mohammed Zia Youssef. The way Rupert Lowe was treated was absolutely abominable. But strangely, during my time in politics, I've never felt more part of a team. And I get that, because what you'll find when you get involved in this movement at any level, and I've had my small amount of input into this down through the years, what you find is there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of people don't like you. There's a lot of people hate you. There's a lot of people will undermine you. But there's a lot of good people as well. And it's finding the wheat from the chaff, finding the good people and cutting off and leaving behind the wrong ones, the bad people. And it takes a long time to do that. So hopefully Rupert's on a fast learning curve on that. I've never felt put. He says, I've never felt more part of a team. There are good, talented, dedicated people all over the country who are tired of petty Westminster politics. Amen to that, Rupert. Agree with that 100%. Now, this is where I disagree with him. And I fundamentally, and he didn't have to put this in. This is where I think Rupert has made a mistake, and he shouldn't have said this. And again, I'm not gonna labour this issue, because what I don't want to do is divide something that's already diced and sliced and divided very, very badly. Now is not the time for another political party. Well, I don't know how he thinks he's going to achieve anything without a political party. I fundamentally disagree with Rupert Lowe on that. It's our job to bring people together, providing a vehicle that can deliver the radical restoration that's required. How can you do that? You're sitting in Parliament, Rupert, as one MP. How can you do that unless you have a mega majority in Parliament that has a completely radical agenda? I think everybody that's involved in this, in any way, shape, or form, should watch Dominic Cummings' latest lectures and interviews that he's given, because he's seen it from the inside. He was at the very highest level, Boris's right-hand man. He saw the way the game was rigged, and he saw who was really controlling the thing. What is needed is a political party that will take Parliament by storm with a massive mega majority after getting every right-thinking person in the country to vote for them. And that's why I'm very hopeful about what Ben Habib's doing. I wish Rupert well with Restore Britain, but it's not the answer that we need. It's part of the answer, but so is Ben massively with what Ben's launching with Advance UK. Then he says, I need your help. Restore Britain will be built on a very different model. As a member of Restore Britain, you'll have the opportunity to vote on the policies and principles that you believe in. With this data, we will put pressure on the government and other political parties to recognise and act on the will of the British people. That's all well and good. That's all well and good. But if there is no other political vehicle to vote for, which if Ben didn't do what he's doing, there wouldn't be, there's a big problem. So then he goes on to his policies and so on and so forth. So really, that's enough. That's enough about. That's enough of what Rupert's doing. But I want to talk about what Ben's doing, and I want to have a look at the comments and see what everybody thinks, because this is, in a way, what we're doing here with these live streams. This is kind of direct democracy, because we're looking at everything that's going on. We're looking at all the data. We're looking at what everybody's saying, and then we're making decisions literally on what we're seeing in the comments of these streams. Okay, everybody can hear. That's the main thing. Advance. Oh, sorry. Oh man, have I got a spelling mistake somewhere? Let me change that. Thanks for. There's always somebody that's really, really good at spelling that picks me up on these things, right? Okay, so thank you for that, Skyliner. Okay, sound is fine. Join the ego party and let's split that out. Well, I don't agree with that. I think reform aren't fit for purpose, and we need an alternative. Well, I think Ben is the most unionist Englishman apart from me that I know. He is absolutely committed to the union, and I think that's really important. I'm gonna have to go. Do you know, that's bugging me about spelling advance wrong on the thing. I want to change that. But no, Ben's a massive unionist, and he talks about the union all the time. In fact, if you watch his video, which I'll post in the comments, or I'll post in the in the description, then you'll be able to see he mentions the union on a number of occasions. Yes, okay, good stuff. What chance does New Party have against reform? Welsh Bear, I think there is a real chance, and I'll tell you why. I think, from what I can see of reform, it's not what it seems. Now, a lot of people have been hoodwinked by this, and there's two or three different dynamics here. First of all, if Ben starts getting real traction, Ben wants 30,000 members in short order. Now, I know that's very difficult to do. I remember when we did UKIP in 2018, I think we got up to over 10,000 members, and that's when we had thousands of football lads joining, we had veterans joining, we had support from Tommy. So it is very difficult to get those sort of numbers, but that's what Ben's looking for, 30,000. So if Ben gets up to that 30,000 level, then it is 100% a challenger to reform, and I think it's a very good way of doing it. Say we get the 30,000, and then we know that we're good to go. So, okay. What does he see wrong with UKIP? If nothing, why could it? Well, I think it's probably the other way around. I think there needs to be coming. This is an interesting point. I want to talk to Ben about this tonight. I think there needs to be a coming together of the SDP, UKIP, what Ben's doing. I think there needs to be an amalgamation, and I think, yeah, that's my gut feeling on it. I think there needs to be a coming together, and I'm looking at what Ben's doing and the policies he's talking about, the way he's presenting it, and I'm very, very impressed. And the reality is that street activism is not going to win the mass, the demos, the mass of the British people, unfortunately. And I think Nick's great at street activism, but he's not going to be basically the man to win a general election. I could see Ben Habib being prime minister. I couldn't see Nick Tenconi being prime minister. And whatever party we're backing, we have to be backing it to get a win. And my hope would be that the smaller parties would coalesce, come in behind Ben, have Ben as a leader, and then other people can do what they need to do. That's pretty much what I hope happens. It's about unity. It's about bringing people together. So that question is a very, very good question. But I mean, I just don't think that Nick is ready to be Prime Minister of the UK. And again, yeah, that's my opinion. Okay. Yeah, Ben is a true gentleman. That's the absolute truth of it. Ben is a true gentleman. And honestly, I'm gonna chat to Ben tonight, and I'm gonna make my own mind up about what I do next, because I've recommended people joining. How many parties have I joined? I've joined UKIP, left UKIP, joined For Britain folded, rejoined UKIP, and now I'm looking at Ben Habib and going, that looks like the answer. And I tell you why I do that. And people say, oh, you're flip-flopping, you're changing your mind all the time. No, because there aren't any options out there that are finished article yet. But what I see in Ben has got me really excited, because of the way the way he speaks, the depths of the team that he's got around him. I know a lot of the people on Ben's team, and we're talking some very, very good people. So, and I've been hoping that Ben would throw his hat in the ring for a long, long time. So will I join the party? Will I leave UKIP and join the party? I'll make my decision very, very soon. I would like to see UKIP and Advance in some way amalgamate. That's what I'd like to see. If that's not possible, then I'll have to make a decision. Okay. Same with the SDP. Obviously, I'm not in the SDP, but I've got a lot of friends that are in the SDP. I'd love to see the SDP coming behind Ben as well, and because Ben's got it. I spoke to Lord Pearson about Ben Habib. I suppose 4 years ago, and was it 4? Yeah, it would have been about 4 years ago. And Ben Habib, Lord Pearson said he is absolutely the real deal, and I've if you know anything about Lord Pearson and the flack he's taken, standing for Tommy, for standing up against radical Islam, he's been absolutely slaughtered for doing it. Well done. I think that's great. Look, I mean, like I say, I've got to make a decision very, very quickly in the next few days, probably. But I think this is what we're looking at here has potential to be magnificent. And remember, there's a lot of the direct democracy stuff in this. Ben said it this morning. All it needs for someone to remove the party leader in this party is a majority of the members to vote for it. So if there's a vote called, and there's going to be a council, I think about 100 people, or a college of about 100 people, who will be from all different backgrounds. So it's not just going to. The point is with this, it's not just going to be the elite. It's not just going to be a working class party. It's going to be everything. It's going to be the whole of our community, the whole of the British community coming together in one party. And the thing with Rupert, I hope that Rupert does well with his movement and actually comes in behind Ben and supports Ben. I think that'd be fantastic. Again, the pledge, we've got to. You see, the thing about Ben is the only political leader in the UK who signed the pledge. I had people, basically disparaging the pledge from other political parties. Well, we've got nearly 60,000 people signed up to the pledge. We never hassle them. We don't send them loads of emails. We're going to send them an email soon, but we don't send them loads of emails. We basically, it's an ideology, and we've got people that have signed up to that ideology. So the pledge is a block that can actually make a big impact and have a big influence on what's happening in the country. And I just want to keep saying this. Remember, 7 p.m. tonight on Paul Thorpe's channel and on my channel. Okay, 7 p.m. tonight. I'll just type this in. Counter Media. Okay. Yep, I agree with that 100%. Okay. Sorry, guys, try and get to the bottom of these comments. Okay, so let me just go back up to the top there. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so here's a comment here. Okay. Well, here's one I agree with. I don't trust reform with the current setup. Do what we need for the UK. Ben needs 30,000 to sign up, then he'll register his party. Ben is asking for £10 to join. Rupert's asking for £20. Battle of the Donos. Listen, the truth of the matter is these guys are very successful businessmen, right? But the truth of the matter is, to actually sustain something, you need a sustainable model. So whatever anybody is doing in this movement, and this is why I get annoyed with people talking about grifting. You know, every single person that's doing this in a meaningful way is taking time away from their family and away from their businesses, right? So they're taking time doing stuff that that would make them money, right? That's certainly the case with me. It's the case with, and I suppose the more money you make, the more it's costing you to do this, right? But yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of people are going to join this. A lot of people are going to join Ben's party. Yeah, exactly. Reform isn't on the right, and I think the right wing left thing badge has gone. What we need is a party that is wedded to the basic principles that built our democracy: freedom, equality, democracy. That's it. And sovereignty: freedom, equality, democracy, and sovereignty. Ben's ticking all those boxes. He's talking about the United Kingdom as a union. He's talking about Northern Ireland, which anyone in Northern Ireland, if you're in Northern Ireland, right, and you want to save the union, I would join his party. Simple as, because he's the only one that is really seriously talking about how to save the United Kingdom, which means the whole of the United Kingdom, including Northern Ireland, right? Now, there's a lot of people won't like that, because a lot of people are pushing for United Ireland. I'm not one of them. I'm a unionist. So the things that Ben's talking about are absolutely ticking all the boxes. So freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of conscience, all those big freedoms. Equality. Do you know, I've heard this all before. It's in the pledge, isn't it? But this is the thing. This is why I'm so excited about this, because Ben has signed the pledge, and Ben is basically creating a party around those principles that are in the pledge, which, to me, if you signed the pledge, well, this could well be the party for us. Again, like I say, I'm not there yet. I haven't left UKIP yet, but I think I'm very, very close to saying I'm gonna. It depends on what UKIP say. If UKIP say let's have some unity, let's bring everybody together, let's join with Ben, then obviously that's to me the best option. The best option. Brilliant. I personally think it's just going to divide the voters and split the vote. If only Nigel Farage could take Rupert. Well, Anthony, do you know, here's a couple of things that could happen, right? Here's a couple of things that could happen. First of all, Ben and Rupert, both of them doing their different projects, could drag the Reform Party away from their trajectory, which is, I mean, we've got Nigel Farage recorded saying we can't beat radical Islam; it's going to win, or words to that effect. Right? We've heard him say that. No, he's not going to do mass deportations. Then he's going to do mass deportations. No, he's not. Ben said it this morning. If somebody comes to the country illegally, they get deported. Ben's been talking about. In fact, Ben got in a whole lot of hot water a couple of years about talking about, how to deal with the small boat crossings. So the point is, Ben does have a very, very positive, radical, robust agenda. And again, like I say, if you've been watching Dominic Cummings, go and watch Dominic Cummings' interviews. I think there's a YouTube channel called Pharaoh. It must be some sort of think tank, right? Yeah, some think tank called Pharaoh. Cummings did an hour and a half long interview. It's well worth watching the whole hour and a half long interview, because if you want to find a way of saving the country, that's what you got to do. And he said about Farage, he says Farage does not have that radical agenda to do that. And I think this is really important. The other thing is about Ben. You've got to understand, Ben has stood in an election and won a seat as a Brexit Party MEP. He stood in the last general election. He didn't win, but he did well. So and that was without any help, because let's get it right, the Reform Party didn't want him in there. Don't trust. No, I don't trust them with the current setup. Okay. Well, Scruffs, look, mate. The reality is, you've got a Free Tommy banner there. There's no way that that Reform are going to be the answer. So what do? The Reform Party won seats when Ben was. Remember this. Ben was the deputy leader of Reform. So Ben's not a novice at this. Ben was the deputy leader of Reform when they had a substantial portion of the vote in the last general election. So Ben is not someone who's just, walked off the golf course as a businessman, as Alex Phillips suggested, and decided he wants to set up a political party as a hobby. Ben is doing this out of a pure commitment to the United Kingdom, a pure commitment to the United Kingdom, because he loves the UK. That's what Ben's doing. Yeah, Bess, absolutely right. Absolutely right. 100% correct. And this is the thing. This is the whole thing about this. Okay. That's Deborah. That's exactly what I'm saying. And again, look, I mean, me saying this could get me into a lot of trouble with UKIP. But to be honest with you, I don't care, because there's too much at stake here. And I know, sadly, right, I know that that UKIP in its current form cannot win the next general election. And what we need is a party that can. Now, can Ben do that? I think we've got to give him a chance. I'm not party political. I'm a member of UKIP. I'm on the NEC of UKIP. But if there's something that's going to save the country, I'll kick that to the curb in a heartbeat, because it's about saving the country. It's not about the rosette. It's not about people's egos. It's about saving the country. And that's what I've been about from the beginning. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Green screen effects, is that it? I think I know you, actually. If that's the same green screen effects, I think it is. But anyway. Yeah, you can give support. I think you can give support. You can support Rupert and you can support Ben. A lot of people like Ben. Like what I think would be a disaster is if there's any fighting. Is if there's any fighting between Ben and Rupert, that would be a disaster. Or any fighting between UKIP and the SDP and Ben. What we've got to do is we've got to come together. This is so important. Unity is so important. Yeah, absolutely. They're doing different. They've got yes, exactly right, Jane. They've got different ways of going about it. The only thing I objected to in Rupert's statement was we don't need another party, because I think we do, and I think we need another party led by Ben Habib. I really do. Okay. Yep, I think so, Geordie. I think so. I think so. Dave, do you know what? I just don't trust Nigel Farage. I'll be brutally honest with you. I've seen the way he's operated. I've seen the way he's treated people. I saw the way he behaved when we did the deal with Jared Batten in 2017, 2018. I was at the heart of that. So I've seen the way the man operates. I saw the way he described his core voters in 2018, tattooed skinhead thugs or whatever it was he said, that we're all going to get drunk and have a riot. None of that happened, incidentally. But that was what Farage said about us, right? He said exactly the same thing about Tommy. His sidekick, Richard Tice, called us that lot. They are elitist. Ben isn't. Ben is part of the British political elite, if you like, in the fact that he's got an elite education. He's a very successful businessman. He's very articulate, very well educated. But that's the sort of person that you need in power. Trump's the same. Don't for a minute think that Trump, clawed his way up from the back streets of New York. Trump was the son of a very, very affluent property developer, and Trump is smashing it. And Ben Habib could be the UK's Donald Trump. He's not going to be as brash and as rude and as crazy, but he's going to be as talented. He's going to be as motivated, and he could even do a better job for the UK than Trump's doing for America. And I've got a lot of time and respect for Donald Trump. So Ben Habib, to me, has got what it takes. He's got that X factor. And I'll be honest with you, I don't see anybody else in British politics that has. Tommy's obviously not in politics, but Tommy's got that as well. Tommy's got that sort of that winsome way about him where you meet with Tommy, you warm to him instantly, and he is a very good friend to have. And I think Ben is exactly the same. The measure of someone to me is if you're in touch with them and they're chatting back, because I only get in touch with people if it's important and if I think there's a worthy conversation to be had with whoever it is, right? Because we're all busy. Their time's precious, my time's precious, and I don't want to be bugging the life out of people. But with Ben, if I send Ben a message, he responds immediately. Now that doesn't mean anything, but he's a very busy guy, So that's the stock of him, that he knows when someone's getting in touch and whether they're wasting his time or whether they're a serious person. So I think there's a lot of reasons to back Ben Habib, and sadly, Nigel Farage is charismatic. He's a great speaker. He's a great communicator. He was great on Brexit. 100% nailed it, pushed it for years. But everything's moved on from Brexit. And has Nigel moved on? I see Nigel moving to the left. I see Nigel moving to the Uni Party. And what needs to happen in government, like I say, go and watch the Dominic Cummings interviews. What needs to happen in government is the whole thing needs to be completely gutted. And it needs to be pulled apart and put back together. Cummings says you need to sack basically at least 50% of the civil service because they're so bad and they're so corrupt and they're so left-wing. So there's a big job. Get rid of the Quangos. And Ben's talking about doing all of these things. Nigel's not. Nigel's, oh yeah, we'll work it all out. We've got Zia Yusuf working on Doge. Okay, big deal. Yeah. So there's a lot needs done, and I think Ben's the man to do it. Anyway, monologue over. I'm going to read some more of these comments. Yeah. Do you know what? I agree with that. That's absolutely right. And put the SDP in there as well, because I like the SDP too. You see, I'm not one of these people that's going to get bent out of shape and fall out with people. I think there's a place for Nick Tenconi. There's a place for William Coulston. There's a place for Ben. There's a place for Rupert. These are all good people. But what we need to do is bring them together. There's obviously, more than anything, there's a place for Tommy. I mean, that's another thing we haven't even talked about. We're going to have to do a live on that sometime this week. Tommy's in court this week, isn't it? It's this week, isn't it? Or is it next week? But he's in court imminently, facing 10 years in prison. And this is why we need to get this right. We need to get power. There's only 2 or 3 ways of getting power. One is by a spiritual revival, right? Where people become Christians and their integrity goes through the roof, and you lose all the scumbags that have caused all the problems in the Labour Party, right? And the Tories and all the rest of them. The other way is you build a political party like Ben's trying to do, and you literally smash it at the next general election. and you get yourself what, I don't know how many, how many MPs, there's 600 MPs, you get yourself 500 MPs, whatever, something ridiculous. You get a super majority that will change Parliament for, for 20 years, right? And Boris, this is the terrible thing about this is Boris had that in 2020 and he squandered it. Anybody thinking about voting Tory? I watched Dominic Cummings talking about this, right? Dominic Cummings called what Boris did on migration the Boris wave. In other words, the millions of people that came in, unskilled, legal migrants that were unskilled, that basically cheated the system, or they were allowed to cheat the system. Those millions that came under on Boris's watch and Rishi Sunak's watch, and obviously Liz Truss didn't have chance to do anything about anything, let alone immigration. But that's the reality of the situation. That Boris opened the floodgates just after COVID because he thought we needed loads of people to come in and fill all the vacancies for people that had gone home. So it's crazy. Well, I think what we need to do is build something that's fit for purpose, because Reform are not fit for purpose. They do not. If you're a working class person, right, and you've been associated with our movement and you've been trying to do politics at street level for 10 years or whatever, Reform will have nothing to do with you. It's as simple as that. Well, let's just see what happens. There's a lot of people. See, there's a lot of people behind Ben. I don't know about Rupert because I'm not in contact with Rupert. There's a lot of people behind Ben. There's a lot of people supporting Ben. And again, don't forget about this. Bess, thanks for putting that up there. The pledge is vitally important in this, because if all this falls apart, if Rupert falls apart, or Ben, if it all goes wrong, we've still got the pledge, and that can be used to bring people to account. That's the whole point of the pledge. So yeah, 7 o'clock tonight on Counter Media YouTube channel. Not sure what you're watching. If you're not subscribed, go across to Counter Media, guys, and please subscribe to the Counter Media channel. Would be great if Rupert and Ben joined and Nick in as well. Would be well, I think so. I think you can get everybody involved. That's my point. That's my point. You need to get everybody involved, but somebody has to take the initiative. Good stuff. Totally agree on that. Okay, that's interesting. What vote? The reality is it's not splitting the vote. Who are we splitting it from? Reform, a party that doesn't represent us, that is pretending to represent us, but is going to shaft us. So Ben sets up party, Rupert sets up room. What a disappointment! Like them both, but neither alone will make it. Well, I must admit, I would like to have seen them working together. I'd like to have seen them both in the party, but at the end of the day, you've got to play the hand that you've got. Yeah, exactly. And this is the important thing. Ben gets the union. He understands the union. Rob, exactly. Exactly right. What's the old saying? A week is a long time in politics. There's plenty of time for this to shake out. A lot can happen. A lot can happen. Yep. Um, Ben's party. Ben's party. Look, the bottom line is the I don't know whether people from UKIP have signed, whether the leadership of UKIP have signed the pledge. I don't know, because nobody's told me. But I know Ben signed it because he was there. He was there at the launch. So the pledge to me is still vitally important in all this. There's a website. Let me find the website. Let's have a look, guys. Okay, here goes. I'm going to put it in the comments. Just bear with me, guys. Just scrolling down for this. Right. Okay. Okay, that's the web address there. You don't need the mission bit on the end of it. That's just something that popped up I whenever I did that. So okay. Yeah, absolutely. Tommy needs a lot of prayer. Tommy needs a heck of a lot of prayer. Absolutely, anything can happen. Yeah, well, if that's true, that's not a good situation at all, is it? Um, absolutely. Of course you can. I mean, this is the whole point. You can support everybody. It's a question. We need a team. We need teamwork. And sooner or later, somebody's going to have to say, "Okay, I'm gonna, um, I'm gonna step back. I'm gonna let this run and see what happens." And I honestly think that Ben has so much um, talent that he's really got to go for it. Yep, I think I agree with that. I think I agree with that. I think I agree with that. And again, yeah, the media silent. Well, this is the problem, isn't it? This is the problem. And the media silent for you see what people have got to realize is that the game is totally rigged, right? And there's a lot of bad actors out there that are basically um, chancing their arm. They're maybe working for the state. There's a lot of ego out there, and when I look at Ben, I don't see a massive amount of ego. I see a man that doesn't actually really want to do this, but he knows it's his duty to do it. He's doing it out of duty. He's not doing it. He's not doing it because he has to do it. He's not doing it because he needs money. He's not doing it because he needs to build a career or a profile. He's not doing it because he wants to see himself in the papers. He's doing it because he knows he has to save the country, and that's the difference. And I think, to me, yeah, Ben is definitely the man that I think. I think at the end of the day, coming into 2028, possibly when it looks like there's going to be an election, when the country's literally on its knees, anything can happen. Um, and I think the more hats there are in the ring, the better. But I would like to see a coming together and unity. I'd absolutely like to see that. British Pack, Rupert, the pledge, unite the kingdom. Let's not forget about what Tommy's doing. Unite the kingdom. Um, New culture for there's lots of stuff out there now. A lot of them have people in common, so there's a lot of crossover and all these sort of things. But there's a lot of good people out there. There's a lot of good people out there. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true. Reforms just come out and joined together the Tories on immigration. So Tories 2.0 was not. Yeah, exactly, exactly. This is the problem with the Reform Party. The Reform Party are already part of the Unity Party, and so we've got to. Yeah, I'd agree with that green screen. I think that's what that, and I've messaged Nick today. And I've messaged the chairman of UKIP today as well and said, look, I think we should get behind this. I think we should find a way of joining with what Ben's doing. I think that would make perfect sense, and I don't see why they wouldn't, because the reality is Ben is a man of means, and he he he's a very successful guy, and he's putting his money where his mouth is. He says if he gets 30,000 people signing up, he's going to put 100 grand of his own money in. That's a big, big investment, you know, and that's money he's not going to get back. That's 100 grand just gone. Okay. Do you know what? Do you know what? I'd love to see Ant Middleton get involved in this too. That's a really good call. That's a really good call. Okay, guys. Well, look, I was only going to go till 5 because I think Ben's on the Dan Wotton show. I could be wrong on that. I think he's on the Dan Wotton show, and I don't want to sort of eat into that time. I'm on again at 7 on the Counter Media channel. Please tune in, share the link. I'll put the link in the description of this this video. We want to get as many people on that. It's going to be on Paul Thorpe's channel as well. It's going to be on Counter Media. Paul Thorpe's hosting it, and I'm appearing on it, asking some questions of Ben. And so I'm going to be on that at 7 o'clock. So guys, this is an exciting day, and like I say, I want to see a coming together of all the parties. I've said that from the get-go. Okay, I want to see everybody coming together. I want to see Ben leading it, and I want to see everybody else involved with it, because I think that's a winning combination. That's what my heart says. But if people don't go with it, I think Ben's got to just blast off and see where he gets to. And yeah, let's do it. Let's get involved in all this. Brilliant. Great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah, thanks, Green Screen. You need to message me, because I think we used to do business. If it's the same, if you're the same person, I think you are. Maybe you're not, but it's just the green screen effects thing. But anyway, yeah. So look, I'm gonna go, guys. So have a good one. I'll see you all again at 7. Take it easy, and don't forget, share the link. I'm gonna put the link below.